Now on BBC World, can the USA take the heat? Hosted by the Clinton Global Initiative, a panel of leading world figures, including President Clinton himself, discuss global warming in This World debate.
Hello, I'm Zainab Badawi, and you can guess I'm in New York. The big yellow taxis are famous the world over. But what you might not know is that over the next 5 years, the entire fleet of 13,000 yellow taxis is going green. In fact, drivers have already switched over to these new boxy hybrids which run on both fuel and electricity. They're not as spacious as the old gas guzzlers, but it's a sign of how cities and states across America are going greener. But how much pressure is there for change for the US to do more to combat global warming at home and abroad? Find out in this world debate, and our guests include Bill Clinton and New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Times Square, please, driver. Welcome to this BBC World debate. Can the US take the heat? Coming to you from New York. You know, America gets a lot of flack for not signing up to the Kyoto Treaty to cut carbon emissions. And now it's accused of standing aloof, perhaps even undermining current international efforts to find a successor to the Kyoto Treaty. So how far does America deserve its reputation as the world's toxic nation? Fact or fiction? Our first guest needs little introduction, the former US President Bill Clinton, now mega philanthropic fixer with his Clinton Global Initiative. Through this CGI, as it's called, politicians, business leaders and NGOs from all over the world come together to forge partnerships and concrete solutions to major challenges such as climate change. And we're also joined by the pioneering environmental campaigner and activist Wangari Maathai from Kenya. Awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her tireless work on climate, she set up the Green Belt movement, which has now planted 30 million trees. She's currently an environment minister in Kenya. New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg has had the distinction of being both a Democrat and a Republican, and is now an independent with a distinct shade of green. He says he's committed to making the Big Apple even greener. And last but by no means least, Chad Holliday is Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of DuPont, the multinational science and consumer products corporation, a great believer in business pushing a green agenda in the US and abroad. DuPont operates in 70 countries worldwide. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Now, before we open up our discussion, I just want to get some introductory remarks from Mr. President here to kind of set the scene for us. You have said that you've got to make fixing climate change as politically sexy as putting a man on the moon. How do you sell your message to the American people then?
Well, first of all, most people love their children and their grandchildren, and you have to tell them that we're playing Russian roulette with their future if we don't do something about it. Secondly, we have to tell them that in a wealthy country, you can't grow the economy, maintain a middle class, help poor people work their way in the middle class unless you have a source of new jobs every 5 to 8 years. And if we do this properly, it's not an economic burden, it's an enormous economic opportunity. And thirdly, as we learn every day in Iraq and elsewhere, there are very few problems any country, including the United States, can solve alone. We have to go into the future cooperatively, and everyone else in the world just about knows that we need a serious, coordinated, combined effort on climate change. If we don't bring the Indians and the Chinese and others, and the Russians and others coming along behind us in, then the planet will warm too fast anyway, and we'll have the worst consequences. And we'll never do it unless we set the standard.
Okay, we'll talk about that particular aspect a little bit later, but just going back to what you say to the American people, even if they are convinced by your arguments, but they might have more concerns. They're worried about hospitals and schools. I mean, it's the old saying by Groucho Marx, why should I care about posterity? What's it ever done for me? They're more concerned about the here and now, not some climate emergency that might be down the line.
But that's what leaders are for. If you get it, this is more of a voting issue in America than ever before. But When Al Gore and I concluded the Kyoto Treaty, there were large numbers of people in the Senate who thought it would get you beat for supporting climate action. No one in America thinks you'll lose office anymore because of this. It's just a question of whether you can do what's necessary to be done. We've moved a long way. The public is ahead of the national government here. The business community is ahead of the national government. As Michael Bloomberg will tell you, the mayors and the governors are ahead. There is an enormous consensus in this country for aggressive action and a real commitment to do it. Here at this global initiative, we've had just 2 companies commit to spend over $5 billion, just 2 companies in the next 5 years, on solar power alone.
We'll talk about the role of the multinational corporation and other businesses, but just coming to the point of what should America do? America's being called on at the moment to sign up to the successor to the Kyoto Treaty, but basically the line is no China and India, no deal. Do you agree with that line?
No.